Welcome to our coffee break course, Shared Principles for Wise Decision Making. I'm Gary Bohlhauer, Professor Emeritus from the College of St. Scholastica. I've been teaching ethics and wise decision making in one form or another for about 52 years. It's an honor and a privilege to be able to share some reflections with you today about this very important topic. I think all of us, of course, want to make good decisions, wise decisions, ethical decisions. Today, I'll talk about three basic principles that can help us make good decisions for ourselves and for others, for our organizations, for the world. These three principles come from the wisdom traditions of the world. They've been foundational for making effective and wise decisions for literally thousands of years. I will explore how each of these principles might inform our process or our method for making wise decisions, and also how each of these principles can be used as a criterion or a standard in our decision-making process when we're trying to make a good decision in a particular situation. I'm not suggesting that this is the best or even a comprehensive model for wise decision-making. In fact, my hope is that this brief glimpse of a wise decision-making model might inspire you to think about your own values, your own principles, your own priorities, how you can more effectively be part of your own wise decision-making process. We make many decisions every single day. Some of them are simply matters of taste, what we wear, whether we choose vanilla ice cream or chocolate ice cream. But many, many more of our decisions have very significant implications and consequences for our own lives and also for the lives of others. Fundamentally, we create ourselves and our organizations one decision at a time. Decisions are our everyday opportunity to live out our values, to form our character, and to respond to our particular call in the world. So let's look at three core principles. These are, again, principles that have been used by people throughout the world for the first principle: respect all persons. We've heard of that before in many ways. Sometimes we think of this in terms of the golden rule: treat others as we want to be treated. Every person is precious. Every person's perspective matters. And our decision-making must take into account not only our own needs and our own desires, but also how our actions might impact others. Number two, appreciate the wholeness of being human. How do we make decisions that allow us to thrive in body, mind, spirit, physically, emotionally, spiritually? And number three, recognize the interconnectedness of all reality. How do we not lose sight of the big picture as we deal with a decision that's right in front of us. Wise decisions take account of the systems and the structures within which we live and decide. We'll look at each of these principles in terms of the method or process for decision making, and also in terms of the criteria or standards we use to choose what is best. Principle 1, respect all persons. If we integrate this principle into our decision-making process, we invite others to the decision-making table. We intentionally make room for the voices of those who have a stake in the decision. We expand the listening process to hear the concerns and perspectives of others. This might mean that we have a family meeting when we're making a decision about something that impacts others in our family. It may mean that we create an interdisciplinary team in our workplace when we're making a decision about a key factor of our work environment. It may mean that we do research into various perspectives on the issue that we're confronting. It might mean that, that we intentionally invite the perspective of someone who's younger than us, or someone who's older, or someone who has a different life experience, perhaps from a different culture. A diversity of stakeholders, or researching multiple perspectives, allows us to access the broader wisdom that comes from hearing and integrating multiple viewpoints. Listening to others, of course, also provides a powerful message to them that their perspective matters, that we see them, that they're important to us. When we use the principle of respect for all persons as a criterion or a standard, we choose what is best for the common good. Not only our own individual good, or the good of our own group or family or country, but we choose what is best for the common good, what benefits the whole community in the long run, rather than simply one segment of it or one individual. The concept of the common good has a long and complex history, but I use it here to refer to choosing what upholds the rights of each person and the good of all. I have a moral responsibility to look beyond my own interests, to recognize how my actions might impact others. And only when both individual rights and the good of the community are held in balance do we truly make wise decisions. All persons are precious and valuable, and so we must make decisions that embody the rights of each person and the good of all. Principle 2, appreciate the wholeness of being human. If we integrate this principle into our decision-making process, we intentionally and artistically integrate modes of consideration and deep reflection. Of course, those include reason and analysis, but also intuition, aesthetic knowing, even silence. A wise discernment process must combine mind and body, heart and soul, discussion, debate, argument, as well as reflection on our feelings, our values, our stories. We must certainly bring the depth of our intellect and reason to bear on any wise decision, any question or issue. But we must also identify with others, get a feel for their perspective, consider values, priorities. In other words, we must explore all the ways of human knowing. Our Western tradition is quite lopsided in its overemphasis on reason. This is not to denigrate the rational processes of clear thinking, quantitative research, assessment of measurable outcomes that provide important data to inform the decision-making process. However, when we appreciate the wholeness of being human, our critical analysis is augmented by creative visioning. Our reason is enlarged by imagination. We ask ourselves and each other in the decision-making process, not only what do you think, but also what do you feel? Not only what do the numbers tell us, but also what do our values have to say in this situation? When we practice knowing in ways that are attuned to our whole humanity, our emotions and values and imaginations keep us connected to our deepest human values, our deepest human needs, our hopes for our children and our grandchildren, for generations to come, our diverse neighbors down the street and around the globe, and our fragile ecosphere. When we use human wholeness as a criterion or a standard for our decision-making, we choose what values the whole person and our responsibility to ourself, to our family and friends, to our workplaces, our work relationships, and the society that we're a part of. When making a decision, I must turn to each of these responsibilities and consider how I live as a whole person, self in relationship with myself, being true to myself, being genuine and honest with myself, but also myself in relationship with intimate family and friends. What do those responsibilities require of me? Myself in relationship with my workplace and the covenant, the contract that I've made there. Myself in relationship with the larger community. In each of these relationships, I must pay attention to the physical, the emotional, the spiritual aspects of myself and others. Wise decision-making values each and all these dimensions of the person and considers how they are affected by the decision. Principle 3, recognize the interconnectedness of all reality. If we integrate this principle into our decision-making process, we realize we cannot touch the world in one place without sending ripples out in all directions. We cannot change one aspect of an organization, one program or one policy without having an impact on the entire organization, on the interrelated systems. Given the inextricable interdependence of reality, we are challenged to investigate the systems of our families, our businesses, our teams, our supply chains, our churches, all of our human endeavors as we contemplate decisions. Every action we take has an impact on others and on our earth. So we must always start in the middle of things, recognizing our own upbringing, our experiences, our values, our colleagues, our family, previous decisions that we've made. All of these things affect the way in which we see a situation. To make wise decisions, we must be attentive to the interconnecting factors that are involved, the patterns of behaviors, the multiple influences that impact a situation. In other words, we have to see into the systems that we are part of. Even in making good parenting decisions, we must pay attention to the interaction among our family members. We must pay attention to the developmental process of psychosocial cognitive growth that our children go through. We must pay attention to the diverse relationships they have with friends, and particularly to their unique talents and passions and aversions. Systems thinking challenges us to see things in an interconnected way, as wholly and totally as possible. Seeing the whole picture requires that we look beyond individual events to patterns of behavior, that we look beyond patterns of behavior to the structures, the policies, the procedures, the unwritten laws that impact those patterns. We look beyond the structures to the underlying ways of thinking, the assumptions we make, the mental models that created those structures. It's time, I think, to recognize the bonds of human affections that link us as sisters and brothers around the globe. It's time to ask ourselves, with every decision we make, how our actions will impact the lives of others and the ecosphere, the environment that sustains us. When we use the interrelatedness of all reality as a criterion or a standard for our decision-making, we make decisions that support our continuing interdependent flourishing. That flourishing includes our economic and material well-being, but also the health of our spirit, the health of our global community, the health of the animals and plants, the air we breathe, the water we depend on every single day. We attempt to make decisions that are really good. We look at the whole web of life within which we live and work. I hope this brief exploration of 3 principles for wise decision-making will help you think about your own decision-making process. What's most important to you? What foundational principles and values and priorities are at the heart, the core of who you are? And how might you more fully take account of your principles, your values, your priorities in the decision-making process? We create ourselves and our organizations one decision at a time. I've listed here also, in case you're interested in exploring these ideas more fully, My book, Choose Wisely, Practical Insights from Spiritual Traditions. Thanks for your interest in wise decision-making. I am convinced that when each of us tries to make the best decisions we can, we enlarge and deepen our reflection process, and those decisions then benefit all of us. Thanks.